What is up, guys? Live from Columbus, Ohio. It's your girl, sick as balls. Come on in. Thank you, moderators, for holding it down. So sorry I'm late. We have a very special birthday in the house this coming weekend.
Listen, folks, I know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Do me a favor and hit the thumbs up. Also, make sure notifications are on. It'll let you know when I'm live. Still a little bit under the weather, but let's do this.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you...
I got 3 lives coming your way today. The first one right here. The second one is the AT&T suppression denial. And then Bicca Barlow is my nighttime Friday live. She joins the team in the official capacity of a lawyer. Okay, Bicca Barlow. And I'm going to tell you guys why I think it is an extremely smart move moving forward. You guys are probably like, wait, isn't she one of the experts? Yeah, she's one of the experts.
You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car and
That's Truly's for the win.
Truly's! Cheers to the Truly's, guys. Thank you so much. Sponsored in part, they pay no dollars. There's 2 different discs, guys. I proved it in court.
Okay.
Manipulation, manufacturing of evidence, fabricating evidence. I proved it all in court.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
Officer Payne can't add because it was not 2 hours of the noise complaints.
I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
And they all knew about it.
Like brains, and like if you need
You're going to be...
a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
Funny story about that last little clip there, guys. One of the biggest trolls on the internet said that. And I was like, you know what? She wants to be so famous. I'll put her in my intro. And there you have it. If you need a lot of brains, you're going to be in trouble. Exactly. Because you're going to need some brains like myself to probably get you through the days. Anyways, there's a little fun fact. Speaking of fun facts, me and Miss Potts are going to be going on our first inaugural spring break trip together. We are going to go hunting for dead bodies every year, once a year together. Listen up.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
What a dumb bitch. Fuck, I love you guys so much. I like to give you guys these little 3 years later. Man, it's just going to give you a little sprinkle. Yeah, that's one of my biggest trolling haters. I love it. I'm funny sometimes. Anyways, we're here for the Idaho4 case. You got to bear with me, guys. I am under the weather, so I'm sure I'm going to talk about wild shit. My mind is squirrel. So, but me and Miss Potts are going to be looking for dead bodies once a year together. And we are. She doesn't think that we're hunting for dead bodies, but we really are. She thinks that we're going there to have vacation. I have ulterior motives. Shit. Oh, we can't tell you where because then we get all the crazies coming out. Oh, I gotta go there when Lana's there. You guys wouldn't believe. the shit if I talked about where I was going back 3-4 years ago. Bitches be just showing up on my doorstep. You guys saw that. Fucking people trying to call the police on me saying, you have a crazy YouTuber in an Airbnb who wants to put a camera in Enon's face. Okay? Get out of here, man. Enon I don't have to, he would just welcome my presence, my cameras. Wild shit. All right, let's go. I stalled enough. 5-minute stall tactic right there. We're going to go to our Hector the projector, bringing it on in here. Boom. There we go. There it is. So Judge Hippler, he is no stranger to joining the prosecution here. I feel like Hippler is part of the prosecution, but people say he's just doing his job. Okay. The order on defendant's motion to suppress genetic information. Now, the only reason I'm going over this is because it's really simple. He denied it, right? But there's nuggets in here. There are timeline nuggets in here. And if you've been following the case like we have here, we want to know the timeline. And so with that said, I'll be switching from my Southern Belle voice to my regular voice. So in case you're joining and it's your first time joining, I play lots of parts. So defendant is charged with 1 count of burglary and 4 counts of murder. We all know that. The introduction is no stranger. I will go right here, though. Left at the crime scene was a knife sheath from which single-source male DNA was extracted. Using forensic investigative genetic genealogy, known as IGG, law enforcement was able to identify a defendant as a possible suspect weeks after the crime occurred. Subsequently, law enforcement conducted a trash pull from defendant's family residence and obtained DNA tying defendant to the DNA found on the knife sheath. Defendant was subsequently arrested pursuant to a warrant and charged in this matter. Okay. Now, defendant asserts law enforcement violated his constitutional rights by failing to secure a warrant before conducting the IGG and trash pull. He seeks to suppress all evidence obtained through these searches, as well as all evidence obtained through subsequent warrants as fruit of the poisonous tree. The state disputes that defendant's constitutional rights were violated, but they don't dispute that they didn't get warrants. Okay? Okay. Here we go. A suppression hearing was held on January 23rd, during which the court received testimony from members of law enforcement and experts in IGG. So see, it says members, plural, of law enforcement and experts, plural, in IGG, each of whom the court found to be credible and reliable. So right off the rip, Hippler is saying that everybody that testified is credible and reliable. Specifically, the court received testimony from Detective Corporal Brett Payne, Rylene Nowlin, Matthew Gamet, and Daniel Helgwig, and Leah Larkin. Okay, specifically. So I don't see who the other law enforcement person would be then when it's saying from members of law enforcement. I only see one member of law enforcement mentioned. Again, I just point things out that I see. All right, sweet. So everybody's credible according to Hippler. Everybody's just boom. Now, the findings of facts. Because you know the standard, okay? If we don't know the standard, it's right here. Let's go like this and like this. Heather Fitzgerald wants to say that the only person not credible is Hitler. So the standard of review of motion to suppress is purificated. The power to assess the credibility of witnesses, resolve factual conflicts, weigh evidence, and draw factual inferences is vested in the trial court. Okay? Okay. So on November 13, 2022, this is the finding of facts. Law enforcement found the bodies of Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan inside a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. All 4 victims died from apparent knife wounds. A K-bar knife sheath was found on a bed next to the bodies of Miss Mogan and Miss Gonzalez. Law enforcement seized the knife sheath. So here is something that Hitler wants to just encompass here. He is just saying law enforcement seized, okay? Because there is questions about who seized this knife sheath. So Hitler says, these are the facts. Law enforcement seized the knife sheath and swabbed around the button of the sheath for DNA. A sample of DNA identified as Q1.1. So we are going to then, in trial, when the DNA, in this case, whoever worked in the lab that extracted that, they're going to be testifying, and one of the exhibits will be called Q1.1 facts. And this is the extracted DNA from the swab by the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab and subsequently tested during standard DNA STR short tandem repeat methods. The STR profile developed revealed that the DNA came from a single source male profile. Law enforcement uploaded the DNA profile to the CODIS database, but it resulted in no hits to known offenders. Subsequently, law enforcement made the decision to pursue forensic investigative genetic genealogy. Law enforcement made the decision. You have the prosecutor is involved in that decision per the interim policy. It's just, that's fact. In the interim policy, your prosecutor is making that decision. And then they make it with Idaho, whoever was since it was Moscow's case, it has to be with the lead detective. So that would have been plus Payne. Okay. Now, so subsequently, law enforcement made the decision to pursue forensic investigative genealogy testing on Q1.1. Such testing begins with the generation of a large amount of raw sequencing data from the DNA sample, which is then organized into SNPs, which is SNPs, or single nucleotide polymorphism, using bioinformatics software. The SNPs associated with, we all know this, how they make this, okay? Depending on the strength of the match, law enforcement can start building a family tree to identify potential genetic relatives of the uploaded SNP profile. These genetic genealogy databases are hosted by private companies and populated by hundreds of thousands of members of the public who voluntarily submitted their own DNA. Publicly share personal information to allow the database to better match them with potential genetic relatives. Notably, at all relevant times, only 2 commercial genetic genealogy databases permitted searches by law enforcement. It would be Family Tree DNA and GenMatch Pro. The databases by MyHeritage and GenMatch without the Pro. See how it says Pro there? Purported to disallow such searches. The IGG process essentially attempts to ascertain identity through genetic associations. Unlike STR profiles, which can reveal only whether a person is genetically male or genetically female, the SNPs in their raw form have the ability to reveal a trove of personal information, including sensitive health information, such as whether the person has traits indicating an increased risk for cancer or Alzheimer's. However, IGG does not target these particular SNPs because, according to defense expert, so this is where he uses their own witness against them here, Daniel, they are neither relevant nor probative nor appropriate. It just says nor appropriate. Doesn't mean they didn't use it for that purpose. To the identification process. In fact, gleaning medical information from SNPs is not possible for a lay person to do so, and would take a forensic scientist like himself a lot of research. Okay. Now, the IGG was first performed by Othram Labs, and this is where we have to pay attention to. This is where the timeline starts. So a company with which the Idaho Department of Purchasing had an existing contract for such work. Curious what that status is right now. Othram was asked to develop an SNP profile from Q1.1 and upload it to those public genealogy databases, permitting law enforcement entry, and submit a preliminary report of its findings. Othram was not asked to ascertain medical information associated with Q1.1, nor is there any evidence it tested for such. Law enforcement did not obtain a warrant for Othram's work. Period. So this would be a correct statement then. So the defense was correct when they said that there was no, search warrant done. So they were correct in their statement. And he notes that as a fact. Law enforcement did not obtain a warrant for Othram's work. The Idaho State Police delivered Q1.1 to Othram on November 22nd, 2022. So this date would go on your spreadsheet as it being delivered. Othram developed an S&P profile from Q1.1 and searched Family Tree DNA and GEDmatch Pro. This work revealed, so again, these were the two that you're allowed to search, Family Tree DNA and GEDmatch Pro, okay? So they do it by the book. This work revealed 4 brothers of interest. Now, this is where things are going to take an amazing turn for anybody that's truly listening and wants to know what's going on in this case. You're going to say to yourself, oh my God, wait, what? It turned up 4. It matched to 4 brothers. Again, this is under the findings of facts. Findings of facts. This is a fact according to the courts. This work revealed 4 brothers of interest, because that's normally what it would do. It's not just going to pick up one person, okay? This is something that Gabriel Vargas explained, I think, very, very well when she was explaining things. We don't come up with a name, okay? There's usually going to be like a family that's going to be associated with this. And then we check and see, okay, does this family have, okay, are we looking for a guy? Are we looking for a girl? Okay, they have brothers. Okay, here, we're interested in all these brothers then. Okay. Now, so again, this work revealed 4 brothers of interest, all of whom were low matches to Q1.1. To further its family tree building, Othram asked the Idaho State Police to contact one of the identified brothers. Okay. Note, these brothers did not share defendant's last name. So this person, these 4 brothers, they are not co-burgers. up here when he stated footnote 3 up here. Where is it? Right here. That is, as defense expert Leah Larkin noted, however, it is possible for a person to upload SMP profile to a third-party site called whatever this is, which for a fee will look for medically informative SMPs within the profile and generate a health report. There is no evidence or contention that this was done here. Matthew Gamet, the systems director for the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, testified that Othram searched 2 databases that allowed, this is important, that allowed, law enforcement searches, but then named GEDmatch as one of the 2 databases searched, which does not permit law enforcement searches. He later clarified that GEDmatch has 2 databases, GEDmatch and GEDmatch Pro, only the latter of which allows law enforcement searches. Thus, given Mr. Gamet's clarification, it is apparent that Othram searched GEDmatch Pro, not GEDmatch. Now, I want to know how Ann Taylor feels about that. It is apparent. Like, what do you mean it's apparent? Like, I just find it interesting that it would be down here in a footer. So it was all cleared up. Like, no, we searched the ones that we were supposed to. Okay, but I would love to hear this, like, live, to see how that all came out. Now, this is an important part because this is part of the interim policy here. Okay. Part of the interim policy is that if you want to bring in and use and let a third party know that you are trying to use their DNA, to help law enforcement do what they're doing, in the interim policy, you are supposed to obtain a search warrant. Okay, there's a subsection. So this would have been another time that a search warrant would have, you just going and asking them, hey, can we get this DNA? You would have still needed to get a search warrant, is what they're saying in this interim policy, just so we're clear on that. Now, this brother that they approached, they approached one of 4 brothers to get, hey, to provide a DNA sample to upload into either of the 2 databases. Despite Idaho State Police's request, the contacted brother declined to provide a sample. Now, think about this. Do you remember when, during this case, it was like, we don't want you guys contacting anybody that we talk to on these family trees? Okay? You guys remember that? We don't want you contacting anybody that. Now I know why. Now I know why this was a big part of this protective order. They did not want these people contacted. These 4, they did not want the defense to contact, in my opinion, the defense to be contacted by these, for the defense to contact one of these 4 people and ask them, okay, what were they saying to you? What did they say to you? Very interesting. Now, one of these brothers told them to piss off Lou. Okay. Next. Now, here's where I have my little handy dandy timeline going with my mental head. They get this on November 22nd. We have no idea when they came to, zone in on these 4 brothers. Now, it is, go ahead and put this down, that Mr. Kopaka is one of 4. Okay? Mr. Kopaka is one of 4 brothers. All right? For those of you guys that think that anything has to do with the Brent Kopaka situation, okay, it's imperative that you understand that, yes, he has 4, like there's 4 of them, for what it's worth. So for everybody that's a conspiracy theorist out there, take that and run wild with it. Now, so here, Othram got it on November 22nd. December 10th. Hold on, I have to sneeze real quick. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Clopenny, how are ya? Didn't say it was him. Clopenny, how are ya? Straight from Switzy, huh? Love when Clopenny shows up. Bless me. Do I think that it's him? No, but I just love stirring that pot. So there you go. Run with it. November 22nd to December 10th. They are taking all of this time. Count the days. They're taking all of this time. Then all of a sudden on December 10th, meeting of the minds happens. On December 10th, meeting of the minds. Members of law enforcement. Again, members of law enforcement. The prosecution, you guys, is law enforcement. Prosecutor Payne including the FBI. Add them in. Plus them. Had a meeting to discuss Othram's work. To discuss it. Like, they just suck at their job. They just suck at their job. Or, hey, you know what? They're playing by the book, y'all. We won't play by the book. All right, you're going to go ahead and give us that shit. We're going to blow it up and make it 10 times bigger. And then we're going to put it in every motherfucking database we got. We're going to put it in even databases that are overseas, and we're going to do whatever the fuck we want with that shit. Okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds great. So here, as a result of this meeting of the minds, a decision was made to turn the IGG work over to the FBI. So that same day, and this is where Bill Thompson's a little freaking liar, a little freaky liar. Remember when they said, Bill Thompson said, there was no work done on that? They didn't do anything. They didn't do any work on it. You guys go back and listen to these damn hearings. Bill Thompson was lying his ass off. Okay? Lying his ass off. They had right here, November 22nd to December 10th, they were most certainly working on that shit. They came up with 4 brothers. They contacted one of the brothers, and the brother said to go piss off. I'm not giving you my fucking DNA. Can you imagine when a brother would be asked, can you give me your DNA for the fucking Idaho4 murder? Wait, what? You think I'm going to give you my DNA for that case? Are you out of your fucking mind? I would love to know that interview process there. Hey, buddy, you know, we're building this family tree and we just want your DNA, you know, for what? Because so you can match it to one of my bros? Get up out of here. You know, just think about that. I would just love to be a fly on the wall of that conversation when someone would just dial up somebody out of the blue and be like, hey, we're working this murder case and we really need your DNA so that we can, like, you know, pin you, your brothers, or family members of yours to the homicides. Excuse me? What did you just say? Yeah. We're working on this huge ass homicide. Well, there's 4 people that were murdered with a knife, and they left some DNA behind on a sheath. And it's coming back to you guys. What? Just wild shit. Well, it's not really you guys. We just know that it's a family member of you guys. So it's not yours per se, but we know that you guys are relatives. What? Like, listen, like that question, I mean, that conversation would just be off the chain. So now, so December 10th, that same day, December 10th, they make that decision. And this is with there are sealed emails that are in evidence now between the FBI and Santa. And it's all to do with this discussion. And I can't wait till those become unsealed one day. So now, Orthrop was instructed to stop work and turn over to the S&P profile and search results to the Idaho State Police. Othram did so, along with a preliminary report. Remember, they said they had no report? All right. This is what Ann Taylor received that damn day. Ann Taylor was like, they told us that there was no report. They told us it didn't do anything. We just find out about it this week. This week / that day. Okay. This is what Ann Taylor was going crazy about in her nice, subtle way of crazy. Of its findings, the preliminary, no mention of that, which come to find out, we just found out about it today. The defense just found out about it today. No mention about that. The preliminary report did not contain any medical information associated with the S&P profile. What did it contain, though? The four brothers. The Idaho State Police then turned the information over to the FBI, which was able to use Othram's profile to develop a significantly larger S&P profile. The FBI uploaded the larger S&P profile to multiple genetic genealogy databases, including GEDmatch and MyHeritage, which purport to disallow law enforcement searches. At the time, the FBI had a quote-unquote interim policy issued by the United States Department of Justice related to IGG analysis and searches by its agencies. So this is what's going to come out in court when the FBI is questioned on stuff. So you guys did a lot of work in this case, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys have no problem violating your own policies, right? I don't understand the question. Well, with this case, there's an interim DOJ policy, right? That had to do with the IGG work that you did in this case. Investigative genetic genealogy, right? Mm-hmm. And it said that you weren't supposed to upload it to sites that law enforcement was opted out of, right? But you guys went ahead and did that anyways, right? Yes, we did. So you have no problem doing things not by the book and just whatever it takes type of mentality, or just doing whatever you guys want. If Ann Taylor does not use that, this is going to be used against them, because you're going to have to show and blow up the whole cast viz shit. And that's how you're going to do it. So that's going to come out. I want to know how they made it significantly larger, just from my personal knowledge. At the time, the FBI had interim policy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, exhibit. This is defendants 19. So when you look at that list that we had, what the fuck is that list? All these stupid lists. That's D19. On the one hand, the interim policy required that investigative agencies conduct IGG searches in genetic genealogy databases, permitting law enforcement use. Page 6. However, on the other hand, the interim policy also stated it was intended only as internal guidance. See, this is where Hitler comes through, and he's like saying, but then the DOJ basically doesn't want any responsibility and did not impose any legal restrictions to investigative agencies, noting, and then this is what I've gone over with you guys like so many times. And look at what Hitler does. He underlines this part of it. Okay. Batty, shitty, crazy shit right here. So the interim policy is not intended to, does not and may not be relied upon to create any substantive or procedural rights or benefits enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States or its departments, agencies, entities, officers, employees, agents, or other persons in any matter, civil or criminal. This interim policy does not impose any legal limitations on otherwise lawful investigative or prosecutorial activities or techniques utilized by the Department of Justice, or limit the prerogatives, choices, or decisions available to or made by the department in its discretion. AKA, do whatever the fuck you want because this is protecting you. Okay, is that right? Now, from the information it acquired through this database searches, the FBI was able to build a family tree and arrive at a potential match. Now, this is where I have so many questions right here. This is why the Amazon search warrant is so important. He thinks that this is credible, which is on December 19, 2022, the FBI provided defendant's name to Idaho law enforcement as a possible source of the DNA. Okay. You guys, oh my God. So then think about this. December 16th or December 19th through December 23rd. This is when they're saying then that they did everything that they needed to do in this case with Brian. The FBI instructed that the identification of defendant as a person of interest was to be considered solely as a tip. There is no evidence in that developing a larger S&P profile, the FBI targeted or even had access to those SNPs that can reveal sensitive health information. So here, the December 19th is this date that the FBI says that they're going to give the name Brian Kohberger. Okay. No warrant was obtained for the FBI's work. And subsequent warrant applications did not include the IGG results to inform probable cause. Yeah, exactly, Susie. Why even have policies? Yeah, why even have rules? Rules are meant to be broken. This is just crazy. Right? As the investigation ensued, law enforcement discovered that defendant had driven from Pullman, Washington to his parents' home in a gated community in Monroe County. At the time, Monroe County municipality waste ordinance required homeowners to dispose of their garbage by placing it out for collection or delivering it directly to a licensed waste hauler. Only an authorized trash collector could collect garbage left out for collection. And this is what this channel did. New Orleans lady and myself, we went fucking crazy about this trash at his parents' property and all the ordinances, because it was just absurd amount of, they had like their own police for the trash. it was pretty intense. You guys can go back and check those lives out and all the information that we put out there. It was pretty crazy. I remember this is just the findings of the facts right here. So law enforcement decided to conduct a warrantless trash pull from the Kohberger residence. Arrangements were made with the local trash collector to isolate and turn over the Kohberger's garbage to law enforcement for testing. So between December 19th and December 23rd and December 27th, sometime the police had contacted the trash people and were like, hey, we need you to isolate these people's trash. We need their trash. Okay. Another conversation I would have loved to, hear. So articles of trash were retrieved and sent to the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab to conduct standard DNA testing. A DNA profile developed from one article of trash was determined to be from the biological father of the source of Q1.1. Another article of trash revealed a mixture of male and female DNA. So this is then where people want to talk about Brian was separating his trash. Well, here it is proof that Brian wasn't. Another article of trash revealed a mixture of male and female DNA. According to defendant's expert Gary Schulter, PhD, the male DNA from the mixture was consistent with Q1.1 profile. Why do you think that they had their own expert get up on that stand and say that, you guys? Okay. To show that he is not separating his fucking trash. So that's a very important part. I had a girl call me today and want to talk about this goddamn trash. And she's probably in chat listening. And I'm like, wait for my live later, okay, girl? I'll talk about this fucking trash with you. Right here, this is the part that I was waiting, I said wait for. If Brian Kober was separating his DNA and his trash and blah, 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 this is my proof to say, why do you think Ann Taylor had this guy testify to this? To show that he wasn't separating his trash. Okay. But now here comes little Hippler. Okay. They have to use the name. They have to use consistent. That's just how you have to talk. Heather, it wasn't you. I don't want to talk trash with you. But then here it is. Importantly, defendant has not claimed ownership or knowledge of the knife sheath from which Q1.1 was taken. Just out of the blue, just writes that in there. Okay. That's just a weird sentence to just throw in there. Importantly, defendant has not claimed ownership or knowledge of the knife sheath from which Q1 was taken. After obtaining a search warrant, law enforcement collected DNA from a buccal swab obtained from defendant. A traditional STR-DNA comparison was done before the Q1.1 profile and defendant's DNA. The comparison showed a statistical match. Specifically, defendant was 5.3. We all know that. Defendant was subsequently charged in this case. Okay. Conclusion of law. The conclusion is that the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects what it protects, right? And here Hippler says that, by God, I told you once and I'll tell you again. Here, the defendant challenges 3 alleged unlawful DNA-related searches. 1, the development of an SMP profile from Q1.1. 2, the trash pull from the Colbert residence and subsequent DNA testing therein. And 3, the search of the commercial genetic databases using the SMP profile. He seeks to suppress not only the genetic information obtained by law enforcement, but all other evidence obtained as a result of the alleged illegality. In response, the state argues defendant has not met his threshold burden of demonstrating that a constitutional violation occurred with regard to any of these 3 searches. And then simply said, the state is correct. The state is absolutely correct. The state is correct. So, but here we are. Defendant has not established a Fourth Amendment violation with regard to the development of the SMP profile. So they go A, B, C. But reading down here, while property interests are also protected under the Fourth Amendment, defendant has not alleged violation of such interests. Therefore, the property-based test to determine whether a search occurred is not implicated. Now, I'm going to ask you guys this. So, because it got me thinking. The reason that Hippler then had to say that the defendant has never once said, oh, hey, that's my sheath. What the fuck? You know, I own that. And I have no idea how the fuck it got there. But I did not put it there. I wasn't there. But that's mine. Because I own a knife like that. And my knife is gone and my sheath is gone. Okay? And so therefore, I did not abandon anything. Okay? Something was taken from me and placed there. I didn't abandon it. All right, so think about that. Because I said then that's a pretty, like, because I was talking to Bella and I said, how do I go about saying, well, clearly this sheath was planted. And so therefore If my DNA is on it, I didn't abandon my DNA because I was never there. Somebody put it there. And then she's like, you got to prove that it was you got to prove that it was planted. And so I said to myself, well, I think what the defense tried to do is prove that it was planted by showing that nothing else fits. This is the one thing that doesn't fit. Okay. And that's when you actually read the stuff that they're talking about in the Franks, and they start talking about like there's, he wants to say there's all this overwhelming evidence, Hitler, right? And the defense is over here like, no, the only evidence that there is this fucking sheath that's so out of place with everything else. And so that is my thought process is this is how they went about trying to show that it was planted. And the fumbling of the words of who really found it, when it was found, where's the body cam of it being found? Nobody else saw it. Payne was the one that actually found it. Then he instructed Idaho State Police to collect it. Then somehow Blaker is being notified, even though Blaker and Payne like worked together like boys, pouring out Trulies for the win. Somehow Blaker is informed by the Idaho State Police, oh yeah, we found a sheath. So I just want you guys to hear the way that my brain was talking this out. And I also said that especially if the sheath has no blood on it, if the sheath is like impeccable condition and the only thing that's truly on that sheath, which they're saying that means it's impeccable condition, guys. There could be no blood on it if there's only one source and it's on that button part, okay? That means that this sheath is in impeccable condition, except they found the DNA that was on this button, stab. But it's under the body, under a comforter, and yet no mixture, no blood, no nothing was able to get on this, okay? And it's laying there for 9 hours, all right? During a struggle, mind you. During a struggle. And then there's no, nothing's coming back to his car. Nothing's coming back to his apartment, his house, okay? He's never looked up these guys on the internet. There is no connection to them. Like, that's how you're trying to prove that this sheath, and we're not trying to sit here and say that law enforcement planted it, but that somebody planted it. And then therefore, I would be arguing that my client did not abandon his DNA. His DNA was stolen. His DNA was it was took and placed at a crime scene. And then y'all violated your own policies to find out who that person was. And then that's where, okay, oh my God, you went through all these lengths to find out who that button touch DNA belonged to, but you've done nothing to find out who this blood belongs to? What the fuck's going on here? That's the argument in my mind, right? And I'm like, how do you go about it, though, in a courtroom so that you're not dropping the fuck word every other word? Because this is crazy. So is Hitler basically trying to say here that if Brian Culver would have said, hey, that's my sheath, my knife's missing, my sheath's missing, and I'm sure it has my DNA on it, and it was stolen. So if Brian Culver would have went after the murders and filed a police report that somebody stole his knife, okay, what would have happened then? So think about this. Brian Culver realizes, oh my God, I left my knife sheath there. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What if Brian Culver would have went and reported it stolen? What would have happened then? Then they would have just said that Brian Culver is trying to get in front of it, right? Point being is that when somebody wants you, somebody's going to get you. Okay? You can twist anything that you want. I can twist it so, but what if Brian Kober would have reported his sheath stolen? Like, what a moron. His knife. He should have reported that fucker stolen 2 months before the murder. Then what? Then what are they going to say? Oh my God, he's been planning it for 2 months, like we've said. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, you're damned if you do something, you're damned if you don't, right? And that's just what I see in this case when Hitler keeps on having an answer for everything versus like that argument would never fly without absolute proof that the sheath was stolen, which defense will never have. Well, if he made a police report of it, I mean, if you made a police report of it 2 months earlier, and you can even go the route that I don't know if it was stolen, but I know that I misplaced that motherfucker. Okay. And I don't need to be implicated in any fucking homicides down the road here. Can you imagine that? My point is that you're damned if you're damned if you don't. But how do you go ahead and explain to the courts that, hey, this is placed, and the reason it should look placed to everybody is because, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, then the state would say, exactly, Heather. Point is that whatever he would say, you're going to twist it. Okay? It's going to be, nope, you're just saying that. Okay, exactly. Point, exactly. That's my point. Now, I'm actually surprised. Well, I don't think that Ann, and I shouldn't say I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think it's smart. Ann Taylor also needs to think about it in terms of strategy. She can't come out blowing her load up in these suppression hearings, okay, where they're totally going to be giving away their strategy for this trial, especially if she's like, Hitler is going to be a long shot to get stuff suppressed, so we have to hold some things back. And we need to use the suppression hearing as trap. Okay? You have to be thinking about that. And if you're not thinking about that, then I don't think that you're a good attorney. Okay? So follow me with this one. All right? So we can't blow our load here and tell them everything that we know because it's a long shot as it is because it's Hitler, right? Think about that, right? So we're going to play a little game while we're doing this to like trap up people. Because this testimony can and will be used like to impeach you down the road. I mean, whatever. You're living and dying by it. Anything that you've ever said. And same with the rulings and stuff like that. So what do you think Ann Taylor held back? Because I think she held some stuff back. And we will talk more about what I believe Ann Taylor held back tonight at 7. Moving on. So, defendant first asserts that the extraction and testing of DNA from the sheath to develop the SMP profile constituted an unreasonable search mandating suppression. Nothing recent advances that have made DNA capable of revealing prolific and sensitive information, as well as the fact that humans continually shed DNA into the environment. The defendant asked this court to find that he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in his DNA, the testing of which through SMP methods required a warrant, despite the fact that law enforcement was lawfully in possession of the object containing the DNA. I mean, this is just, I can't even listen to this. Okay, the state denies that the testing of the DNA from the sheath was a search. Interesting. The state denies that the testing of the DNA from the sheath was a search. pointing out the DNA was lawfully seized, evidence from the scene of the crime. The state further contends that the defendant has not demonstrated he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in this DNA because he abandoned it. Okay. And or because he has not shown the existence of a reasonable privacy interest in society is willing to recognize, which obviously. This is a matter of first impression in Idaho. However, applying a well-settled principles of Fourth Amendment law, the court finds no constitutional violation, which I agree. Okay. And I agree with all of this because but I think that my question goes back to how I would have a reasonable expectation of privacy if somebody did take my shit and place it somewhere. How would I not have a reasonable expectation of privacy that somebody took my shit and placed it somewhere? Because I didn't leave it. So that's just, I want to know that. I want to know how one argues that. Bella, how would I argue that? I'd have to prove that it was planted, right?
Yeah, you'd have to prove that it was planted. If it was planted.
Well, I'm clearly, I'm trying. I mean, duh, if I didn't do it and you have my DNA on some sheath and I didn't do it, I'm like, well, I never fucking met those girls. I was never there. It's clearly planted or it's not mine. It's clearly okay.
Planted or placed?
Yeah. And how come there's no blood on that thing? How come it's in between all these bodies? This is what I'm saying to my lawyer. Like, let's say that I'm just saying this up to my lawyer.
I'm your defense attorney.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck, Ann? I didn't do this shit. I'm fucking a vegan, man. I would never touch a leather sheath. How do I prove that? How do I prove that somebody? How did this happen to me?
Brian, I'm not going to ask where you were. Not going to ask if you did it. I'm just going to ask, what can the state prove? Can they prove you were there?
What? I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I'm just crying. Nobody's sending me any money. No one's sending me any money on my commissary.
We'll get that.
Sorry, guys. We're just role playing over here. Yes, thank you there, Murky. Yes. I know why they were after me. Because I got in all those fights because I was uncovering all the crap that those WSU guys were doing, all those officers. They've had it out to me because I'm from Pennsylvania.
You like the Steelers?
I'm an outsider. I hate the Steelers. I'm a Philly fan. I don't even like sports. You look at me how skinny I am. You think I played sports?
You don't run track?
No, I hate everything.
I hate you.
I fucking hate all of you women. I want all men to represent me. Call him Lippler. Lippler is going to stay. I want to call him Mr. Dick.
Men going their own way. Woo!
I want to call him something. I'm so skinny. I don't play sports. You think I could really kill all these people? You think that I would have walked past Dylan and not killed her? You think I would have left a witness, Miss Taylor? Mr. Dickey. The sperm is what I want to know. Whose sperm was found and where was it? Yeah, we're gonna talk about the sperm. The sperm's coming. Miss Taylor, I didn't do it. I swear to God. And Mr. Gonsalves is gonna shoot my ass.
When did he get a southern accent?
Miss Taylor, I've been listening to Choosing Transparency, and now I've developed this southern twang. All I want to do is just have a menage a trois with my twang. Miss Taylor, I promise you, I did not kill nobody. I've never even ran a vacuum in my life. My mama did all that for me. They took my dust buster. They took my Hoover. She's got a mouth like a Hoover, Miss Taylor. I would never. Oh, shit. Brian, just call him Mr. Ghostbuster. All right, let's continue on. Where was the sperm? I know everybody wants to talk about this damn sperm. Mr. Dipla. All right, sperm time. So we kind of get it about the whole abandon versus like, I'm like, but if it was planted, I mean, he didn't really abandon it. You know what I mean? So like, he does have a privacy interest that somebody wouldn't come in his area. So moreover, a person need not specifically disclaim knowledge or ownership of the contents of a container or result in abandonment thereof. We're going to talk about that, like this part of it, a little bit later, different live. I want to move to this portion because he goes in to talk about the different cases and what's abandoned, what's not. Because I know that Ann Taylor had to be arguing that this was placed. This is placed. Now, the Burns court additionally rejected the argument defendant makes here, which is that DNA cannot be voluntarily abandoned due to involuntary shedding. I don't think that's what Brian would ever be saying. I'm sorry, but like, I think Hitler spent a lot of when I see Hitler spend a lot of time on stuff, I feel like he's like, look over here, not over there. So I'm gonna pass this up. I'm not gonna drink his Kool-Aid. Let's see. What other part did I want to read from this? That's not what I wanted. We're going to talk about the third-party doctrine. Like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay. I want to hear what he has to say about this policy. Okay? That's what everybody should want to know, too. How does Hitler feel about the policy being violated, you know? Defendant next argues that even if the court were to find shared DNA falls within the traditional Fourth Amendment rules, as it has, law enforcement's alleged search of databases in violation of both the database's terms and the interim policy cries out for judicial intervention. This is where Ann Taylor's like, come on. Defendant has provided no authority that these alleged violations of policy or user agreements bear on the Fourth Amendment. Again, because the defendant has not demonstrated a reasonable privacy interest in his relative's DNA, the defendant has no basis to challenge the propriety of the searches. Second, even if he could establish a reasonable privacy interest, these alleged violations are of no significance. With regard to the violation of the database's user policies, while this may give rise to a civil action between the FBI and the particular database, or perhaps the individuals whose DNA profiles were used, defendant has not explained how this implicates the Fourth Amendment. At least one state district court has found it does not. See State versus Westrom, and that is in, where was that at? It was not in Idaho. Minnesota, I believe. With regard to the FBI's alleged violation of its own policies or guidelines, the state correctly points out that non-compliance with a law enforcement policy does not provide a basis for a Fourth Amendment challenge. And then cites a case. In addition, the interim policy issues here expressly state it is intended to provide internal guidance only and does not create any substantive or procedural rights or benefits or impose any legal or limitations on otherwise lawful investigative techniques. See interim policy, page 1. Therefore, violation of its terms cannot alone give rise to a Fourth Amendment challenge, whereas the court has already found. The defendant points that the law enforcement violated Israeli law when it searched my heritage. Oh my God. Hey, y'all are fucking with the crazy. Oh my God. Israeli law when it searched my heritage, which is located in Israel. He claims that, oh my God, Israel's genetic information law prohibits law enforcement uses, but does not provide a cite to the particular provisions of the law or quote within his brief, nor does he explain how this court is bound by it or why law enforcement was required to follow it. Oh, Jay's over here just like, well, I'm just going to turn you into the... Fucking yay, I love it. You guys, do you see this shit? Oh, y'all violating everybody. Y'all violating, great. You're going to have problems down the road. Okay. So like I said, we're going to come back on little bits and parts of that. Yeah, why are they tiptoeing around Bethany Funk? Bethany Funk has exculpatory information, allegedly. I think Bethany Funk's going to completely destroy the timeline. And that's Ann Taylor's like, yeah, wait for it. Now, this was the next one that we're going to be talking about here is the order on defendant's motion to suppress AT&T, Google, USB, Apple, and Amazon. He went ahead and put these all together in a 35-page. And we're going to be talking about this in my next live, which is in just a couple hours. I want to give my voice a break. So I want you guys to come back and join me where we get to talk about sperm. You guys want to talk about sperm, right? Let's talk about sperm. So come back and join me for the big hits. Nothing but the hits. Nothing but the motherfucking hits. 94 people that were murdered, and you want to fuck around. You got 8 families that are being affected by this, and the biggest name, nobody from the university.
Shock value. And so what he did was he had taken pictures of California.
Oh, you're from I would be outraged if I lived in Moscow right now. I'd be lighting some cars on fire out there. I'd be flipping some cars. I'd get the frats going wild with me. Let's get some noise complaints going.